Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Soul Empowerment. This is episode number 11, I believe, today. We're calling it Cultivating a Life of Flow. My name is David McLeod. I am your life mastery coach and author of the book, A Life to Die For. And hi there, Sister Nancy. How are you? Welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here today. I'm Nancy Stevens, and I am honored to be here with you today, celebrating all things flow for the soul. I am a mind-body lifestyle specialist. I have the fun quote work, of being a health and life coach. And I am a blogger and author. And I also enjoy giving lifestyle presentations virtually now and have done in person in the past. So it's fun to unpack and share all these things of the body, mind, and spirit here with you today, David.
Great, thank you. And speaking of author, some people who are watching this may not realize this, but you and I are co-authors on a big project for the Wellness Universe that's called The Wellness Universe Complete Guide to Self-Care. I believe I've got the title right.
You have it. Yep.
And it's 25 tools for stress management or stress relief. And so I had the good fortune, along with Nancy here, to be co-authors on that. And we each got a chance to write our own chapter. And today is the day before our official launch day, tomorrow, 11/11. And so we're both very excited about that. And I can't wait I haven't got my hard copies yet, so I'm waiting for that.
Well, and I was going to say, join us. We were having an all-comers live launch release party. If you go to the Wellness Universe Facebook page, I think it's Wellness Universe, just look that up on Facebook, their hub. We're doing a live launch party. We're giving away lots of cool prizes, including copies of the book and including a free paid weekend to our really awesome retreat, Soul Treat 2021. So you don't want to miss tomorrow. I believe you just show up live. The Wellness Universe, check it out on Facebook. We will all be there and join in on the celebration and festivities of this party. And then the book is available for sale on Amazon. If you just type in Wellness Universe self-care book, it'll pop up on Google and you can read up about it. But together with David, I know we really put our heart and soul into the chapters we were asked to write. And I just can't wait to how this is going to be in the world. It couldn't be at a better time than it is right now. So,
with all the stuff that's going on in our world right now, we need a lot of support. And so I feel good about having contributed to that book and to create a chapter about relaxation and using relaxation techniques to help relieve stress. And I know you tell them a little bit about your chapter.
Well, my chapter is chapter 1. So 11/11, numbers 1 are really powerful for me. And my chapter is all about how to create a calming routine, how to release stress by creating a calming personal routine. That is one that really shored up the foundation for how I start my day each and every day. It's like the whole routine is my cup of coffee, so to speak. So I got to take an in-depth look in how to really showcase as a teaching tool how for everyone to create their own intimate, powerful morning routine. So good stuff.
So it is an awesome book. As I said, there's 25 tools for stress relief, stress management, and some amazing authors writing some amazing stories and bringing their beautiful tools to bear to help people who may be struggling at this time in our lives. And let's face it, with what's going on, how can anybody not be challenged? And so what a perfect time for us to begin talking a little bit about flow, because sometimes life just brings you stuff that you don't necessarily expect, and you have to find a way to navigate through it. And sometimes it might feel like you're swimming upstream. Sometimes it might feel like you've got the whole world dumping on you all at once. The question that we're trying to ask today is, how can we be in the presence of that and still remember the truth of who we really are? And so I think that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And so, Nancy, what's your first thoughts on that when I bring up those ideas?
That's a good question. I guess my first thought is, wow, I want that in my life. I want to be able to really tune in and not be drawn from one thing, one thought or activity to the other, to the jumping around. I want to really live in my zone and have that strong, really foundational balance as best I can, moment to moment. I
Mhm.
want flow right now.
Yeah, and there's something pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure that everybody has experienced flow at one time or another in their lives. And the thing
Yeah.
is, when it happens, it really is a beautiful feeling. I can't just describe it as love or as joy or anything like that. It has its own unique characteristic.
Yeah.
For me, I feel when I am in that state of flow, what it feels like to me is that I am completely aware of everything all at the same time, and I have no agenda about it. I am 100% present to it and just simply being with it. I'm not necessarily I don't have a particular agenda in mind when that is going on. It just feels like I'm here right now, even though I might be driving my car or riding my bike or walking my dog, or I may be physically active in the body. I might be doing something. I still feel that presence happening, and it's a beautiful. Can you describe a little bit for you what it feels like when you're in flow?
Um, Flow is just being completely taken into the activity at hand, the conversation at hand, or being completely engaged in meditating or just being, without feeling any resistance, without feeling drawn away or having little knockings. It's just being in this zone where, I guess to best describe it, just feeling really comfortable, cared for, and at ease. Like, for instance, I just taught a class this morning, and we had a couple things bubble up prior to class, but once I started leading the class, I looked at the time and it was time to complete the class. So that was a straight state of being in flow, just being completely immersed and involved in sharing and connecting with what I was teaching. And I kind of printed out a little something for those that are listening later or listening now about flow, a little definition from I took it from an article off of a Medium, and I can't pronounce his last name, Mihaly.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know the fellow you're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah, he's got this great long
yeah.
Czechoslovakian or Slovenian name or something. Yeah.
He's the author of the book Flow, and he's one of the pioneers in positive psychology. And he states that, or his definition is flow is being completely involved in an activity for its own sake. The ego falls away, time flies, and every action and movement and thought follows inevitably the previous one. So it's just you're fully immersed in what it is that is. Yeah.
Yeah, his name, I wish I could pronounce it. It's like Csikszentmihalyi or something like that.
Yeah.
It's very, very strong.
Yeah.
I know, like 25 letters or something. But
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I'm like, I can do the first word, Mihaly, Mihaly. Just
that's his first name. Yeah.
flow book.
Yeah.
I don't want to slaughter his name here online, and it's a good one, and I want to keep it good.
Yes, I've read that book, and I think I have another book of his as well, both of which I found quite illuminating. And
Yeah.
I've certainly resonated a lot with what he teaches, and I've incorporated some of his techniques into my own techniques. So there's a little bit of overlap there. But you're right. I think the basic idea is intense focus is probably a good alternate phrase to describe what he's saying. You're actively, and you use the word actively engaged. I think that was your phrase. You were actively engaged in your.
Yeah.
You're not really thinking about anything else. You're not worried about stuff that might happen in the future. You're not necessarily dwelling on anything that happened in the past, but you're right here, right now, focusing 100% of your attention on the task or the whatever it is you're doing. I don't want to call it a task because it might not be a task. It might be some, just something a project or something that you're coming at with full on love and support and desire. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I know for me, when I'm in a mode of creativity of any kind, whether it's writing music or, just modifying a website or something, sometimes I can look up and I say, wow, that 2 hours are gone. I wasn't even aware of the time. The passage of time just doesn't even register in the consciousness anymore. It's a beautiful feeling, really.
It is. And I agree that it's part. I think the way the world is right now, it's so easy to have our attention taken away from so many things coming at us that flow can seem a slippery slope of just out of reach, when I think if you give yourself permission to push back, resist back, all of that, then the little inner workings of flow will begin to move into us. That flow definitely does not work well with multitasking. I do know that multitasking and flow aren't necessarily good partners. I think flow for me is a single entity, not needing many other things to enhance it. I mean, that doesn't have to be true for everybody. But looking back, when I've had flow in life and as I use it as a coach, it is being very intentionally, perhaps, immersed in and involved with what that is at hand. And maybe that's a key attribute of flow, is that intention and attention. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it could be possible to be. First of all, I think the idea of multitasking is a bit of an illusory subject anyway. I don't know that many people claim to be multitaskers. Frankly, I don't believe them. I don't think it's possible for us to be able to do two things and focus our attention on two things simultaneously. That doesn't mean to say I can't be doing one task, divert my attention to another task, and then come back. It looks like multitasking on the outside, but it's really just focusing full attention on each individual task, perhaps in sequence, perhaps jumping back and forth. I think that is possible. But I still think I agree with you that if I try to focus my attention on two tasks simultaneously, I'm probably going to do very poorly at both of them. Whereas if I can focus 100% of my attention on one task until I feel complete in the moment, whether the task itself is complete or not, and then I can do the same thing on the other task, that helps me to stay in the presence of here and now while I am active in whatever it is I'm doing.
I like that. That works. So what else can we share about all of the different elements of, like, what's a little bit more that we can bring up about being in a flow state? Exactly the first time I really had the word flow move into me was when I was taking my coach certification training. It described being in presence with your client as connecting in flow, but you were out of your zone and they were out of theirs, and you were working in a cohesive tandem way. And I was very intrigued by that. I'm like, wow. Yeah.
I think really what you're talking about is being fully present to yourself and to the other person, which basically what that means is you're being fully present to what's happening here right now. And so in a coaching environment, we tend to create a private and safe space that hopefully doesn't have any distractions happening. And as a result, we are able to be more present. I just noticed that the sun is really shining here.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm getting the flow of sunlight coming in on my side. I'm going to have to put some curtains up on that doorway, I think. But anyway, yeah, that's how I see it. Flow is something that we can create through intention. And it's, I think one thing, before we go there too much, I want to kind of get back to the idea that don't think when we say go with the flow,
Yeah.
we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, go with the flow is just is a way of helping us to kind of stay relaxed no matter what happens in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I want to go from A to B, and something comes along that impedes that progress. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know, something says that stops me from getting A to B. So the question is, how can I be present to whatever's happening, find my way from A to B, and not be in resistance to what's happening around me? That's, I think, what we're really talking about here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, there's a big difference between you know, just go with the flow. To me, yeah, go with the flow means just, I don't know, settle, deal with it, release into it. Whereas working to be in flow, you're involved in a different emotional way to understand that there can be resistance to it, and you're actively working with intention, you know, as a means to really bring yourself into that process. Versus go with the flow, which to me is more like, oh, just, you know, back away, let it roll over you, you know. Yeah, that is an often used term, go with the flow. And it does have some element of, you know, not being as stressed or whatnot, but being in flow, that's a whole nother personal development arena that really asks us to heighten our awareness and our emotional openness to what is at hand within us and in connecting with those around us.
Right. Yeah. I think often whenever I hear someone tell me to go with the flow, the way that lands on me is they're trying to tell me, hey man, I'm trying to get you to do something my way.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of how it lands on me. And it just doesn't feel good when I hear someone say that to me. I understand the concept at a spiritual level. And on some level, I agree. You know, going with the flow is probably the best thing to do. But at the same time, sometimes we have our own objectives in life. We have our own intentions. We have our own ideas and creativity and so forth that we want to focus on. So I think what we're talking about here is creating a life such that everything we do has that intention in it, so that we feel as if we're just flowing beautifully through the process of the creation of whatever it is we're trying to produce.
I like that. So working to be in flow is you are actively working to create having that intentionality to it versus just backing off and letting whatever, you know, that is
I'm gonna just mute myself and turn off my camera for just a second because I want to reposition myself so I'm not in the sun. Okay. You keep talking. I'll hear you.
I like that. Well, oh, wonderful. So to our listener, do you guys have any comments you'd like to add to what David and I have been sharing here? Is there anything that comes to mind to you from your own personal experience with flow, or anything else that's bubbling up for you? Because we would love to guide and help you deepen your own relationship with being in flow. I like that. So there's going with the flow, which is more of a backing off or relinquishing or whatever. And then there's being in flow, which is you are in partnership, collaborative, connecting with that essence of the flow state. Yeah.
I love the way you flowed through that as I transitioned to a new view. Now you get to see my kitchen behind me instead of that picture that my father's painting, actually.
Oh, neat.
And that's part of flow too. You know, something comes up that isn't quite working. All right, well, let's just deal with it.
Let's be in flow. Yeah.
And now that I'm not in the sun anymore the way I was, I can actually see your image a lot better too. It's not blinding me.
Well, that's good. You know, something else has come to mind. So we're in the midst, depending on where you are, though, I should say, at least where I am, we're in the midst of coming down from peak color. So Mother Nature gave us, where I live, a showy display probably a week ago of everything just beginning to really richen and be just immerse itself in full. It's like it could tell that the trees, the bushes, the shrubs are giving themselves every last ounce of peak color. So that put me in a state of being in flow. I really enjoy fall and all that it brings. And I can honestly say that even amidst in our country where we've had a, election and just many things, I really felt when I was outdoors viewing and being in creation, I really felt I was being in flow, really deeply connecting with nature and this rich peak color. And I'm still in flow. I took my daily walk and I notice now that the leaves are thinning and are turning brown. They're making their way back to earth. And I feel really connected and in flow when I'm outdoors viewing that. So maybe that's there's nothing in particular that had to happen for me to be in this, other than maybe a little bit of being mindful and present to what was going on around me in nature. And this comes up a lot during our talks on different things, but it always seems to come back to the individual, me or you, learning how to notice and start to connect with awareness.
Right.
Right.
Well, I like what you just said about presence and mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, that's all flow is maintaining that presence and mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what you're doing. This is why I call flow presence in action. Presence in action. You're staying present to what is happening right in the moment while you are in action. But you don't have to be active in the sense of walking, running, doing anything. You could be sitting quietly in meditation and still be in flow.
Mm. Oh, yeah.
Your action is to simply bring maximum awareness to whatever is going on, within you and around you, and all about that. So the idea that flow requires some kind of action is not strictly true. Mm-hmm. However, when you have that notion of presence in action, I believe that, to me, is a good descriptor of what flow really is.
I agree. And my other question is, so this all sounds just amazing. Wow. But what are some of the personal benefits to be gained by leaning and learning to connect and flow? What are these benefits why do I want to even experience and bring in flow to my life? Why would our listeners, what do they have to gain by being in flow or being in a flow state?
Well, that's a great question. And I think that one answer that immediately pops to my mind is the idea of presence. Okay. If you are 100% present to this moment, then you are not focusing on future events. You're not concerning yourself with things that might happen. And therefore, your connection to fear is reduced. Similarly, you're not focusing on things that happened in the past. So any pain or anything that you may have had back then isn't here now in this present moment. All right. The very fact that you are in the present moment means that there's nothing wrong. You're here right now. You're absolutely here right now. Everything is perfect. As a result of that, the more you can stay in that place, the more you can reduce stress, increase relaxation, maximize oxytocin in your system, improve so many different areas of your life. And the longer that you can stay in that position or in that place of flow, the more that benefit magnifies and improves over your life. Of course, sometimes life is going to come in and interrupt it. You're going to have people, barging into your life. They're going to be demanding your attention. And sometimes that may raise the stress level again. But the moment you come back to this flow, the moment you come back to presence, you start to reduce that stress. And it is a powerful tool for just living a life of contentment and joy. That's what I say. Those are the benefits that come to my mind.
Yeah, that's very powerful. And when we are actively seeking to have that presence, we are, again, the stuff that we might have thought really mattered at the time kind of begins to fall away by the wayside, so to speak, and that we gain a bigger ground in our body, mind, and spirit, because we're deeply connected, and we realize that there's going to be stuff pretty much every day that comes up to you. If you're bubbling yourself off because you want to have flow and peace and ease, well, who doesn't? But there's always going to be something unexpected that happens every day. And again, I think I shared with David before we began, my Facebook account, I know, was hacked and blocked. And that really upset me because I had owned the personal and business account for many years. And it was like, God, how dare somebody do that? And I was taken out of the moment because I was putting so much energy around, why did this happen? What could I have done? Now, I was out of connected. And then, I finally was able, something occurred and I released that. And now I'm back to where I was. Whether I ever get into my Facebook account again, it doesn't matter now. I'm fine with it. I'm back in flow. But yeah, it was, an example of being being railroaded by an event that happens. And also I was going to say, when you're out of flow versus in flow, I think you lessen your productivity, whether it's to be more present and mindful in your body and mind and spirit, or you're wanting more productivity as a solopreneur or as an employee. When your mind is constantly here, there, and everywhere, and you feel yourself shifting, your ability to really own and learn a greater level of productivity declines. It's when we're in a state of flow. My other example was just teaching a fitness class this morning. The class went really well because I just put myself in that state of flow. And before we knew it was over, and clients came up and said, wow, I needed that today. That class was perfect. I put all of my energy, effort, and awareness into giving myself to those that came. And every one of them had a different takeaway and a different experience. But I was really productive in that class because I wasn't making a list of what happened before, what I was going to do when I left. That is a beautiful benefit of flow, is having a different, more full level of being productive in whatever it is you are doing in the moment.
Right. That's beautiful. And I really like that you brought that up, because you're right. The state of flow self-perpetuates. When you are in the flow, you have all these beautiful benefits of reduction in stress, increase in oxytocin, all that stuff, and also an increase in productivity, as you pointed out, and which helps to generate more connection to that sense of flow. That's an important thing. The other thing that you mentioned, which I also like, and I just want to bring back attention to it, is this idea of connection. When I'm in flow, I'm more deeply connected to the truth of who I really am, and that helps me to be more connected to you, and to really feel a sense of oneness that I believe pervades the entire universe. That sense of oneness is something that more often than not most people think of as a cerebral thing. It's an intellectual idea, but when you're in flow, I think it's something that becomes more something that you can actually feel in your body. You can say, yeah, now I know what they're talking about with that oneness thing. So that there's that too. And I believe the more we can connect with this idea of oneness, the more we collectively, all of us, can heal the planet. So growth, grand amounts of healing can take place. The more there are people who can bring themselves into this flow place, this place of mindfulness and presence in action.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, if I may say, since this is a beautiful platform, I feel that we are all being asked, however that means to be for us, to really step up and do the work we have been asked to do that takes place right here in this, where we are all being asked to step up and do that work. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to, because again, you have to have that self-awareness piece, that there is work needing to be done, and feel comfortable enough to begin to go inward and do that work. And it's very interesting that you brought that up. We have our two youngest sons are 17 and 19, and that is exactly what, I don't know why, they at separate times, I had an opportunity as their mom to speak to them, and they shared with where they were in their life, what they wanted. And I just, in this beautiful moment of quiet, I said, you will always have comfort within yourself, no matter what is going on around you, when you step up and do the work of working on yourself by being present to your thoughts, feelings, emotions, how you react to triggers, to comments from people, to what happened in class or at work. Instead of off-putting that I'm this way because this was said to me, or this happened, or the weather happened, or whatever, that you'd learn to move from reacting and blaming others or feeling the victim to responding as to why do I have this reaction? Why do I feel this way? I think on a grand scale, all of us are being invited, those that have already done great amounts of work, you David, to do even more, to give even more as a coach and healer. And for me as well, like to move those layers of, for me, it was a little bit of shame and guilt, or just old well-worn habit patterns. And like, oh, I'm doing that. I don't need to. It served me maybe years ago. So we're all being asked to step up. And as we do that, more flow comes. Yep. And the vibrational energy of the planet moves from a heavier, more dense energy to a more uplifted and positive energy.
Right. Yep, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Now, there's something else that I want to say. If you've noticed, we have covered a total of 10 episodes before this one. We've covered them in a particular order. We talked first about awareness, and then we talked about acceptance, and then we talked about identity, who I am, and we talked about choice, and we talked about compassion and forgiveness, and then purpose, integrity, shadow, and then relationship. We have talked about all of these things in the course of our journey to get to this place of flow. And what's, I think, important, and something that related to something you just said, is the more we can stay in flow, the more we can also stay connected to each of those other 10 keys of life mastery. Yeah. The more we stay in flow, the more we are connected to those keys of life mastery. So, for example, you were talking about the case of maybe finding yourself drawn out of flow and into reactivity by something that happens, and maybe you get angry or you say something that you wish you hadn't said. Well, in the first place, it's just an event that happened. You can easily now come back to forgiveness and compassion. You can look at that and say, I guess I still have a little work to do on my ego, and that's okay. I'm still perfect just the way I am. I love myself. I forgive myself. Now, how can I show up next time something like that happens? How can I show up more lovingly? What would love do? Mm-hmm. See, that's the beauty of flow. It gives us the power of basically allowing all of those keys, including flow itself, to simply be present in our life, where we become centered in those 11 keys of life mastery. Pretty soon we'll talk about the 12th key, which I haven't shared with you yet. we'll do that in our next episode.
Nice. So, yeah, so that's in case you're like, well, again, we've answered the question, I guess, why do I want to pursue and grow into cultivating flow? Well, to have a greater, more solid foundational sense of who you are, that is you, regardless of all of that external stuff. And you'll find that you have a greater level of productivity in your personal life, in your career, in your work life, that is, validating and life-giving to others. And the more that we step up and work on ourselves, we create a more healthy, sustainable environment for the world to heal, because we are not walking around just with littered pieces of stuff or garbage all over.
Right.
It doesn't mean that, sadly, once we reach this flow state, it doesn't mean that's it.
Yeah.
It just means that we have the tools now to bring ourselves back to that we now know what it looks like and feels like to be in flow, that when we get out of it, because I was knocked out of my flow zone with Facebook and whatnot, I knew that was my home base. Flow is home base. And I was able to move and get back into it without being. And flow, another thing I should say is, flow does not mean you're just walking around just in a big bubble, but not letting life just whatever, that you're like, oh, who cares? It's like you just have, sometimes people are like, well, I don't have time for that. I don't, whatever. But no, flow just means you're foundationally connected to your work at hand. You're involved in it. You're aware of it, but you're not like thrown off and distracted from it. Yeah.
So I guess the question that people might have is, well, how do I achieve a sense of flow? How do I gain this sense of flow? Well, I think it helps to understand, first of all, to go back to what Mihaly says in his book. If you can bring 100% attention to whatever you are doing, especially if it's a creative pursuit, whatever that might be, if you can bring 100% attention and 100% intention to that, so you're totally focused on your activity, no matter what it might be. It could be something as simple as knitting, knitting a sweater. It could be cooking a meal. It could be mopping the floor. It could be, filing your nails. It could be going out for a walk. I mean, there's all kinds. You just think any possible activity that you could be doing. If you can bring 100% attention and intention to that activity and just bring all of yourself into it, you will begin to experience flow. Okay? That is what it really is like. Now, if you have difficulty even with that, and you want to come back to a true state of flow, I have a couple of examples that might help for you. So you mentioned the word peak color before when you were talking about the fall and what happens in the fall. And by the way, the fall or the autumn or whatever you want to call it, it's my favorite time of year. I just love this time of year. Anyway, the word peak reminded me that every single one of us has in our lives at least one or two or maybe more peak experiences. These are experiences that are so sharp in your mind that you will never forget them. They may be very, very uplifting and positive experiences. They may also be negative experiences. And so, I want you to just think about one. For example, try to think of an experience where you felt literally on top of the world. You felt there's nothing you could do wrong. Nobody was going to criticize you, and you were really connected to the truth of who you are. Now, what might that be? Well, I can think of a couple of examples. Maybe it was something like skydiving. Now, think about skydiving for a second, especially if it's the first time you've ever done it. Now, maybe you've never done it, so you just have to use your imagination. I have never skydived. So I'm imagining that the moment I'm standing on the edge of that door with a parachute on my back, ready to jump out, there's something going on in my body. I can just feel the energy flowing through me. The moment I leap out that door, I'm not thinking about anything else except this trip. This is the only thing I'm thinking about. There's exhilaration, there's fear, there's happiness, there's, oh my God, am I going to crash into the ground? There's all that stuff happening right now. See? So that's an example of a peak experience. And you are right here, right now, fully focused on this activity and on nothing else. And I just want you to remember that. You've got experiences like that in your life. Everybody does. Go back to that experience and relive it in your body and bring yourself back to that state. I do it all the time. One of my favorite, absolute favorite peak experiences for my life was the day I had my very first afterburner takeoff in a fighter airplane.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite an experience. I wrote about it in my book. It's a powerful experience. Let me tell you something. That airplane moves so fast, you just have no time to think. Okay? All I know is I push up the throttles, I bang over to the left, and boom, boom, those engines are on, and I'm airborne before I even have a chance to think about it. It's gear up, flaps up, and hang on.
Wow.
I'm just following, and I was 100% present. Now I go through a little more detail about that. The thing is, it was a beautiful, exhilarating, life-affirming experience where I felt totally one with the divine. You know. Now, there's been other things in my life, and maybe you can think of an example in your life where you had a peak experience like that.
Gosh, I have, well, two distinct ones. I would say, although I wouldn't go back and repeat it several times, childbirth was a pretty peak experience where every last bit of everything fell away. The objective or goal or what was in motion was to deliver the child. And the moment the baby was delivered and came out, the world for all of us stood still to meet our brand new son. That was, I'll never forget it. I still have all of those moments, what time my sons were born, where we were, who was around us. So that is definitely a powerful state where every last bit of my awareness was there. And another way that's very interesting when I go into flow is when we travel, you go out of your way to prepare for the day before travel. I think all of us, I know I do it. I am just an unorganized mess to go. I don't know why. Our last trip a couple of weeks ago or 2 months ago, our son happened to be virtually married, which was another flow state. That the night that we were going to pack, we had a virtual wedding.
Oh no!
And so I had nothing ready. My in-laws, when the new in-laws came over, and she's like, "You're traveling tomorrow? What time do you have to be at the airport?" I'm like, 5 a.m. And she goes, "Are you packed?" I'm like, "Nope." So, however, it was an unorganized mess. I did get packed, but the minute we got on the flight, it was like all of that just left. I was just focused on the task of arriving to our destination and immersing ourselves in what we're visiting and being. So I do go into flow states once we leave our home and I get through my chaotic mess. I'm able to disconnect and really work on being in the moment of traveling and family gathering.
Yeah, I think so. I'm glad you mentioned childbirth.
Yeah.
Obviously, I haven't personally experienced that, other than my own birth, which I don't remember, although I'm sure it was some kind of a peak experience for my life.
Yeah.
But I was present for the birth of all my children. And even though I did not have the kind of experience that you would have had during that process, I know that when it was happening for me, I was very much present to what was going on. Everything going on. I honestly, that was a beautiful flow state for me too. So
yeah.
whatever happens in your life, it can become a peak experience because it's something that you're going to remember every detail of going forward. You're never going to forget it. The emotional intensity of that experience is so strong that it's just never going to fade from your memory. Many other things in your life will disappear. They will fade away. They just don't have the same impact. Although I have to say, for example, I've had people remind me of things that I did. And I say, oh, yeah, I remember now. But it's not something that I, bring up on my own. But the peak experiences, no problem. I can always remember those. Anyway, I guess our point here is that if you want to experience this sense of flow, one of the ways you can do it is, if you want to bring yourself into a state of flow consciously, just go back and remember a peak experience and try and relive it. Now, even if you, for example, in a childbirth situation, you try to relive it, you're not going to go through all of the experience because I'm sure your body doesn't remember all the parts. But you do remember the emotional parts that were associated with that. And so you could go through that, and that would bring you back into a state of flow quite easily.
Yeah, and I was another thought popped up. I mean, I obviously had, for me, flow with that, but I also remember other times when I was training to be to coach, really getting just letting everything else leave and being so immersed in the aspect of taking in all that learning from coaching my first client and being coached. That it's, I think the sense that's coming to mind, for me, being in flow is a falling away of all of the other stuff that while it may be important, really takes a back seat into what it is going on at hand. That if you step up and really immerse yourselves into that, whether it's learning something, giving a presentation, enjoying travel or cooking a meal or conversation, if you just let all of that other stuff fall away by the wayside for a moment and bring yourself into that, how much more rich and full. And that's another reason why we want flow. I want to know at the end of my life that I had these major experiences that grew me and shaped me, and that also that what I did perhaps contributed and helped elevate the status of another. And if we're constantly disconnected or chaotic or flitting from here to there, not really learning how to really connect with ourselves, how much more can we get when we do take those steps to do the work within ourselves to achieve flow, to have that greater, positive foundational work to stand behind us and be in us as we soldier on through our beautiful lives.
Right. Yeah. And, something that you said that I would like to reiterate is the moment we do anything to elevate our consciousness, to improve our lives, the moment we do that, we elevate the consciousness of the planet. So even if you imagine that you're not doing something to help another person, just by doing your own work, you are helping the planet. We are all, the more of us who do this, the more we collectively raise the consciousness of the planet. And that raising of consciousness cannot help but bring more love and healing to bear. And I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we could use more of that in our planet right now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, David. That exactly it is. So instead of saying, I need to do more and get more done and accomplish more, how much is that more when we step up first and take care of ourselves?
Absolutely.
That is the foundation for the greater broad spectrum of what we can then give in our community, our world, and for the world itself. It's like it begins right deep within us, stepping up on behalf of ourselves. And that in itself is work, is flow, is giving. And then, oh, okay, now everyone else is going to start benefiting from that. And oh, the world is going to be more connected, calmed, healed, and nurtured, all because little old me said yes, I deserve to heal, to grow, to be. I think that's really cool. And how I think in the midst of seeking to think that we have to get more done, accomplish more, achieve more, take action, blah, 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 we miss that really cool aspect of really tending to ourselves. Because if not us, then who, you know?
Yeah, or to complete the phrase, if not now, then when?
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling really flowy right now.
Yeah, it's there's a lot to learn about flow. There's a lot to learn about how to develop flow. There's a lot to learn about being gentle and loving with ourselves when we slip out of flow. You know, raising our consciousness doesn't mean we get there and we stop.
Yeah.
As you said, who knows? It can slip back if we're not careful. If we can backslide.
Yeah.
Right? If we allow our ego minds to regain control, then flow just slowly and quietly disappears. Flow, in my mind, is a direct connection to the Holy Spirit, to true essence. It's the connection between who I am and universe. That's what flow is to me.
Yeah, that sounds I just kind of got a really good, strong, loving sense that's, flow is from the divine, whatever you're calling that, whether it's God, creator, the Holy Spirit, that's what it is. I think the essence of our time here today is that each and every one of us, regardless of anything, deserve and have the ability to find and cultivate and foster flow. It's not just available to the people that have more than enough time on their hands or have a certain personality or a life that's just easy and free. It's for everyone, no matter how supposedly chaotic or so many things going on, plates to balance. It's really available to everyone. And how healing is it when we raise our consciousness, that we raise the vibrational consciousness of the planet Earth. Yeah.
Beautiful. And if you want to supercharge your life, really you can do no better than to practice this flow. And as I said, if you're having difficulty getting into the place of flow, try the peak experience thing as a way of just reliving that energy and feeling that energy in your body. That will charge you up, believe me. And imagine going into your day having just had a reliving of an experience of childbirth, or of leaping out of an airplane, or of your first afterburner takeoff, or whatever it might be. Just imagine the energy that you'd be carrying with you if you walk out that front door into your life on that day with that energy already flowing. I'm telling you, you're gonna be walking with a spring in your step, and you're gonna be full chested. You're gonna be, yeah, I'm here, man. I am a pretty amazing person. Well, that's what I want to see. I want to see more people like that.
I raise my hand to want more of that, less strife and feeling of being out of balance and untethered, to being grounded and in the foundational, positive, beautiful energy of connecting deeply with your own self and giving yourself permission to do the work. Is it easy? No. Is it available? Yes. Can you do it?
Well, and I'd like to just challenge that. Is it easy? Well, let's put it this way. It's like this. This is one thing that I've always known. When you know the answer, it's always easy.
Yeah. Okay.
But until you know the answer, it seems hard. And that's the funny thing about life. how many times did I do that? As a software engineer, I would try and solve a problem, and I'd be banging my head against a wall trying to figure out how to solve this problem. And then all of a sudden, bang, the solution comes to me, and I say, "Oh, that was easy."
That's interesting. Yep.
Have you ever had that experience? I've had this many, many times in my life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. How hard is it until you find the way? Then, oh, so
And it's a piece of cake.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's what makes the journey so much fun, I think. As long as you can see it that way. All right, I banged my head against the wall. I've got scars to prove it. But by God, I made it through. Because here I am. I did it. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And now I know that I don't have to bang my head against that wall anymore.
Well, I like that. I think our time together today, David, was really just really resourceful and really needed about the validity of being in flow. What an important foundational piece to each of us of having and learning to bring yourself into flow for the very essence of our lives. Like I said, it's a deeply spiritual or grounding connector to everything else that we could ever do is that flow piece. So I'm going to work on some more flow as I go through the week. Because I want that. I've tasted the other part, the backside of lack of flow, which is feeling disconnected or unhappy or just questioning or wandering, into the sweet spot of flow, being really connected, that you look up and wow, where, this just couldn't have gone any better. It was so effortless and easy. And yeah, I just want to remind our listeners that if you're feeling disconnected or uninvolved in your life, or there's parts that are flow and parts that aren't, this is available for you to do the work. And if you want to reach out to David or I, we didn't put our deal up there, but if you look for us on Wellness Universe, you can connect with us on our profiles there. And
right.
I'd be more than happy, and I know you would, of working with you.
That's what we're here for. So I want to say thank you to you, Nancy, for being here. It was a great conversation. I just really appreciate it. It's always fun talking about this stuff with you. And I want to thank you all for being here and for watching and for sharing your time with us. I know that by being here and watching, you are contributing in your own way to an improved world. And I just want to, bless you and honor you on your journey. And hey, good for you.
Yep. Like you said, that was step one. Stepping up and gathering and learning immediately has stepped up yourself for you to be in more. So keep working, show up. We've got another show coming up next month and the month after that. So we appreciate all of you for listening live or recorded, and connect with us later on.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Find your flow today.